Yeah, it's also a matchup that feels like it could go pretty grindy, pretty long. Especially, it does. I agree with you. The duresses really help, but you don't have access to those in game one. So game one might be a little bit more important for the blue white control player here to win. For Sergio to be able to take game one because it's gonna get worse generally speaking after sideboard.
Yeah. Also, there's another stuff that makes a big difference on these long matchups when we're talking about MTGA, playing online on the software. It's the clock. It's the time. When
Yep.
do you start worrying about time on these long matchups? Like, I mean, this is the second turn, and Sergio like took a long time to think and not deploy the Dunscar, likely respecting a Reckoner Bank Buzzer here, I suppose. And how do you see time management? When exactly should you worry about it? When worrying too much about it starts to harm your own play? What's your opinions on this topic, Seth?
Well, I think that you really want to get in a lot of reps with your deck. That's going to help with these time management spots because if you have like recognition of certain situations and are able to kind of autopilot a bit, that's going to help. Like for instance, that turn 3 play, I don't see a reason not to just play your Hall of Storm Giants. It's like these little things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's like maybe they add up because as you're saying these games can go pretty long, especially knowing what the matchup is. You pretty much always should be thinking about it at least a little bit. You don't want to make a bad play because of time, but it's a factor as you said.
Yeah, you don't have to rush a lot, but not waste your mental energy on decisions that are likely to don't matter. I definitely understand that. I think also something else that really helps when we are talking about this type of matchup is not only reps if you're on deck on this specific format, but experience on this kind of matchups that you get by a long career playing MTG. Because definitely Yusef, you're a player with a lot of strong results and finishes on the pro level, and I bet many of your finishes were using control decks, were winning control mirrors or mid-range long mirrors. And when you join a tournament match, specifically a finals match, having that expertise also makes a huge difference.
Yeah. I think it's also somewhat about confidence, right? It's about knowing that if you've been in those situations before. I actually timed out in like um a really important match where I think you were playing in that event if I'm remembering it correctly, but it was this Twitch Rivals tournament that I timed out in. Um and there I think we might have just tapped wrong. We might have just got auto tappered a little bit. Or
Yeah.
okay, I guess we're just gonna Doomscar here. I was kind of thinking we could go March and then play Legion Angel and kind of put more pressure on, but this also seems fine. Um,
I think it's having a good use to a card that's bad. That's something that's often undervalued, and people don't seem to see it as important. But when I play mid range or control mirror mats, I'm always thinking on how to use my bad resources on my opponent's good resources. Like if I'm playing fatal push on a mirror on a control mirror match, I will always want to try to use it on a mainland or a shark typhoon token, and the same applies here. And those small edges, when Sergio is able to use a bad card on this matchup like Doomscar to a
yep,
profitable line, like destroying a couple of angels from Emeria's Call, he gets a tiny bit advantage, And as we said about the time, also those small advantages also really adds up on the long term on the great chain of turns.
Yeah, I really like playing this other Legion Angel now that we have this Disdainful Stroke, and I also agree with you about the Doomscar play. I think it was definitely the right way to use that, and now commit threats to the board, and it's working out really well. It's weird to not have used any of this removal. I kind of get that you're hoping to maybe draw a meat hook or get into these some type of situation where you can. But like we had a portable hole. We've had this portable hole in hand for a while, and we'd basically
Yeah,
just
the
be
point is you
saving it.
can't be that behind, because if you try to sandbag your removal spells for too long, maybe there's a point not even the sweeper will help you. And here the Esper deck just kind of, okay, Ledger Angel is enough, this counter is enough. I'll just conceding this game. Maybe it was an early concession because I think there's still room to be played, but yeah, definitely things were not looking great for. Maybe Jesper was trying to save some energy here. Maybe okay,
Hmm.
post board I get better, so I will just try to save my mental effort for those matchups.
And
Likely
going back
concession.
to your earlier question about time, now that we've had a game that's been relatively quick, like you want to look at it if you have 30 minutes on your clock and you have a game that's like 5 minutes, then all of a sudden you have more time for the other games, and so you can take more time with your decision. So I kind of will think about that as well, like how, because sometimes you'll have games that take like half an hour to finish as game one, like that can happen. It's rare, so I think game one really will dictate quite a bit how much time you have to play with in the other games.
Yeah. And we are also seeing players really packing. Like the Esper player brings orders, but there's a card that also makes a whole lot of work for the blue white side. That is the Malevolent Hermit. It's a powerful
Yep.
card that both sides of it are relevant, and it can also delay your opponent by so much. When you play Hermit on curve, it's like suddenly you're all on the Wandering Pair advantage because you can play your own on turn four, and your opponent can't play their own on turn four, and that's a
Yeah,
very
we did
powerful
see
line to have.
4 vanishing versus stay in, and that is one of your answers to that, but it's also your answer to Wandering Emperor, to the Dragon, so it's it's definitely the most
Uh,
important removal spell. Did we just keep a one
it's
lander?
a great keep here. No, he
Wow,
kept one land. That's
that
kind of a
is
tilt keep, don't you think?
this could be over. I mean, this okay. Well, there it is.
Ooh.
I mean, I am someone that likes to I am
Ooh.
someone that likes to keep hands.
Yeah, the
It's
point
a
is drawing
gamble.
the second land, the hand gets very strong because Reckoning Bankbuster will likely draw a lot of cards. Whoa, and there's a second land in a row. He believed on the heart of the cards and got rewarded with Kaido as
Well,
well.
it's one of those hands where as the blue white player, you're just like, yeah, my opponent had a good draw, like and you just move on if you lose the game. It's like whatever. But then you don't you don't realize that they kept a one lander, and you actually were a favorite to for them to just not have the second land, right? Like it's just a huge. It's so swingy. I mean, when
Yeah,
sometimes you
well,
get hands like
that's
this where
living La Vida
you know.
Loca here. But don't you? Wouldn't you go for Kaido here on turn three? I'm curious.
Yes,
I think
I was
Kaido
about to
would be
say.
a much.
I was about to say Kaido is a great turn three play. Even if it gets Fateful Absence the next turn, I think you're okay with that. I mean, you do know about the Fateful Absence, but it's going to get Absence here anyways. And if we had played it last turn, this would be a much more mana efficient turn. We would get to hold up Disdainful Stroke. We would get to hold up card draw with our Reckoner Bankbuster. So it would have worked out. We basically would have had one more card in our hand had we played Bankbuster
Yeah,
last
I
turn.
thought this sequencing very weird here because he is not deploying Kaido on the best turn, and then on the following turn he's not using the mana very efficiently. So I
Yeah,
definitely don't love that line. And also, I'm
yeah.
not
Like
sure if I
once you
like
get,
this attack either.
yeah. I mean, it's it's trading one damage for two, which doesn't is
Yeah, and also
normally
getting
not
rid
great,
of the
but
Hermit is not bad because it's a card you eventually have to deal anyway. So if you can deal it with it on combat, it's a lot better than waiting a
I
bunch of turns and
yeah. I mean, if you're leveling yourself a bit, you could think, well, if the hermit dies, they can play it and kind of stop these disdainful strokes. But I don't know if that would actually happen. I doubt it would.
maybe he's not planning on trying to exchange resource and more like turbo the bank busters for attacking and like okay if I make this race favorable for me I will be
Mhm.
dealing more damage long term but yeah I'm not sure I'm not loving all the Esper lines here. I think the quick concede plus the one land keeping and the weird sequencing. Maybe the Esper play is a bit tired or tilted, I would say, but it's very
Yeah, I mean
tough
that's
to analyze or confirm that without seeing expressions and everything. Especially because Serge, sorry, Ginapoli played both games with Esper very well and very you know convincing wins on the past rounds.
so you can draw three cards. I feel like Genopoli's still favored here, but it's interesting. I guess. Oh wait, so Hullbreaker. I'm just not used to Hullbreaker horror in standard because it's not
In standard, it can't be countered.
right. That's
It's
what I was
much more
about to
powerful
say. In
than
standard, it
Napoli.
can't be countered, and in other formats, it can be. So I wonder also if there's a chance we should have just activated a Bankbuster main phase to get the third counter on it. But all right, this is fine. But yeah, the big problem is the Hullbreaker horror. I guess yeah, that's the major issue.
Hmm, I think even if the Esper draw cards, things are starting to look a bit weird for um, the Esper here because he's starting to fall behind on Battlefield.
I really don't like this. I don't think, but I guess you can start to use your hermits and stuff. But I would have thought we would have gone for Hullbreaker horror. I guess we're worried about Vanishing Verse, but as we can see the cards, like, so I mean, we can see the cards. That's the point of this. But I also don't really like this attack that much. Um, yeah, I don't think this is a good turn for blue white. Because now we
Yeah,
can
they kind
crew
of
up. We can actually crew this. This was not a good sequence, but this is what we were talking about at the start, where my first answer to your question was, I think these players are going to be tired, right? And we're starting to see plays
yeah,
that we don't necessarily agree
some
with.
sleep here and there.
You make an attack and you say "oops" in the finals of a big tournament. You know, it's like
Yeah, it kind of remind me of the what brings joy on local tabletop levels. When okay we're playing for something maybe a few $100 or a booster box or promos but everyone is like on a friendly game and if I make a mistake I'm just oh whoops and everyone in the local store is also going nuts there so I enjoy this this enjoyment of them being on the finals, because they played 11 rounds of Magic. This is the 12th round of Magic of both players today, and they played all the rounds. They didn't intentional draw into the top 8. So making some mistake and being able to just go oops on yourself, it's a good way to
Yeah.
not take yourself too seriously.
In Sergio's defense, the Bankbuster is a tricky card. When you have two of them, it's not like immediately obvious with no creature to crew that you can crew, but making a 1/1 and then with one and then being able to crew the other one, it's a pretty cool play. So we were able to see that happen.
Yeah, I like how um I like how the Esper deck is pressuring right now, because he went for a lot of damage with the Bank Busters and also play Hive of Eye Tyrant. The moment that Blue White have to commit the mana, maybe with Full Breaker or they can maybe uh, add extra creatures with the Wonder Emperor.
Yeah,
So
I just think the blue white deck has run out of gas because they didn't draw as many cards this game, and we've seen how important drawing extra cards is in these matchups. And the Reckoner Bankbusters have just been like so obscene. Like they've been probably the best card in these games that we've seen from the Esper deck, just because they don't die to anything, and they draw three cards, and then you have to answer them, and they also win the game. So they've been very impressive. I feel like. Um,
yeah, they also have the Bank Buster advantage because the Esperlis plays three main board and one sideboard, so they have the full play set here for post-boarded games, while the blue white
yep.
deck only has a couple of them only on main boards. So it's fair to say the Esper deck has twice as many regular Bank Buster, because it's, well, exactly what is on the deck list.
Yeah, yeah, and they also have a lot of gas in hand. The Vanishing Verse was a pickup. So had they gone for the Hullbreaker hard line, it ended up being that's wouldn't work out here, and they might still go for that because of how much damage is being pushed through. It kind of feels like it's the only option to play Hullbreaker hard at this point. I'm not really seeing any other
Yeah, they have to.
play that could happen.
I don't think you do anything here as the Esper player. You just pass.
Yeah, there's not really a need to play a Wandering Emperor right now,
You have full
but
info. Your opponent is going for the Hullbreaker. You know that.
yeah. I mean, it's fine here. It's not the worst, but this is interesting because now if you pay the 3, things actually get a little bit tricky. Potentially, I guess
Yeah, yeah,
not. I guess not. If we had one more land, it would be way better, right? Because we could we could then have a hermit to counter the vanishing verse, but we only have this treasure token that we need to use in order to cast this Hullbreaker Horror, which we're gonna do here as
yeah. The
Sergio's gonna
blue white
do.
is
Yeah,
forced to.
yeah. You just have to play
If they
it.
play the horror, they can't protect it with Hermit, but they have to play the horror,
There's
or
no other
otherwise they would
option.
be so.
Yep.
Full control here, just to make sure Arena doesn't mess with your play and you instantly lose to the lobster.
Yeah. Looks like
And
we
this
got a
is not a
game
great
3
draw.
coming. So I guess this
At
is kind of
three life,
going.
yeah, I think they dead, because if they play both creatures, like if they don't scar, they dead to the Hive of Eye Tyrant. If they play Dragon and Hermit from the graveyard, it's three blockers, and they would be able to block the Bankbuster and double block the. Yeah, they would be dead to the Emperor on the hand using +1 counter. Well, actually, they dead on board. Doesn't matter. I think. Yeah. Okay, so we're going down to the game three. As people like to say, it's not a finals. It's not a true finals if don't have a game three. Seth, what do you think about this
Yeah.
popular say?
Um, I kind of agree. I don't know. It feels like finals tend to just always go the maximum amount of games for some reason. I don't know. If we look at the sideboard, it does look like a lot of the doom scars in some of the mass removal spells are what came out, and the dragons. So there just isn't that like it would be nice for Sergio to have a couple more cards for this matchup. I'm not saying like maybe it would be another counterspell or a memory deluge or something like that. I feel like being able to play that first game the way where you're just passing, if you're able to play that draw go game and just kind of pass with counters up or some type of card advantage, that is ideal. Also, there's just not that many answers to the Reckoner Bankbuster. There may be. I actually
Yeah,
never
they
think
made a
about
lot
it.
of difference. Not only the Backbuster, but the Duras as well, because they
Yeah.
play a couple of Duras. They took raid of the Wandering Emperor. Also had the perfect info, so Esper was able to set up this trap against the Lobster. You know the Sergio had to fall into that trap, so it was pretty, uh, you know, sad
The
to
blue
go for that.
the blue white deck is not playing any portable holes, which part of the reason for that may be because you're playing farewells, but and like farewell, you don't want to exile your portable holes, and then that can be kind of a disaster. But on the other side of the coin, if you take out your farewells and you need answers to bracket or
No,
bankbusters,
it's
you
actually
kind of want.
it's actually okay to use the firewall because they exile on the order it's reading, so you end up
Oh right, you're
exiling
right. It is
everything.
okay to do that. You're right. So there's no portable holes in the list, which is a card you can play. I don't know that you have to play it, but it would be another answer to Bankbuster. But yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
maybe they aimed on a more how can I say? Maybe they aimed on a more heavier metagame, you know.
So here we do have the Legion Angel, and it looks like we're just going to use a negate. Now, the Lear is weird because I think we left one in. If I saw the sideboarding correctly, just one out of two.
No,
So
they brought the one of the Lears. They
yeah,
have one on the board.
I think they have two sideboard. They brought in one. I could have been wrong about that, but um, but yeah. Either
I'm not a
way,
big fan of
it's
Lear of the matchup either.
yeah, it's not the best Lear deck, right? Because you don't. It's not like an Izzet deck where you've got like these unexpected windfalls and you've got a lot of stuff to bring out of the graveyard. If we played Lear in this situation, for instance, we don't have
You would think
anything.
5 mana, 3/4 attacks and blocks. I don't
Yeah,
like it either.
um, we're gonna
Here
kill
he
off. Yeah. Oh wow. So this was interesting. We can kill off the Planeswalker or play a Legion Angel.
mm, yeah, but playing the Legion Angel, things are gonna get tricky here for the blue white because now he has a vampire that exchanges with the Legion Angel, and also has a removal spells for the white dragon. So this is definitely the critical turn of the game here. If if he activates the mainland, he gets punished. Yeah, but also I think he already noticed there is some large in hand because there's too much priority passing. You know, when you play a lot of
Yeah,
arena, you
this
can kind of identify that.
Yeah, I mean, even if he had killed off the Wandering Emperor, this would still be a bad spot either way. So yeah, I think it's one of those situations. Just not having a great sideboard plan for this matchup for blue white, and Esper has a really good sideboard plan with the duresses and getting to take out some of the bad cards.
Yeah,
And
that's the
and
impression I have when I play or see Azorius being played. It doesn't line up that well on the sideboard plans, against all the different matchups. That's some impression I always have. Maybe because its removal suite is not that great. Orzhov gets to play Vanishing Verse, Soul Shatter, Inferno Grasp, or Power Word Q. They have a lot of different ways. Ray of Enfeeblement on sideboard, and the blue white just doesn't have access to all these great options. So it eventually gets, how can I say that, out-threated on the matchup when your opponent plays very different stuff that your removal doesn't line that well, and your sideboard plan doesn't match that well either. I think that's the spot that Sergio is right now.
yeah, and we've seen this Esper deck all 3 rounds. We saw it eh, in the quarters. We saw it in the semis. Now we're seeing it in the finals, and we can start to understand why this deck is so popular right now.
Oh, this load
Uh,
is huge here. And also, we just saw a 2-2 split on Legend Angel get punished here, Seth, because
oh,
the blue
yep,
one went for 2-2 Angel. He actually plays 1 and 3, but went for 2-2 sideboard, both sideboard, and just got punished because this last Angel is not searching anything. And I think I
yeah. I
would
think
put the counter on the Samurai so I could get an extra attack.
yeah, I like that. I would have preferred that.
I mean, it's some small detail. I don't think it's gonna end up mattering a lot here,
Nope. No, I
but
don't think.
it's
I
definitely.
mean, I don't think it's gonna matter at this point. It is.
Yeah, Lier can enable some interesting play here because if they go Amaris call for double tokens and somehow Lier manages to untap, he can put a couple angels again. But I think with 4 planeswalkers on the battlefield, there won't be time for Sergio to deploy that play. So each turn that passes without having this Planeswalker answer is like 2 or 3 extra cards the Esper players is seeing, and like all of the cards the Esper draws right now are good because if he draws land, he's able to double or triple spell on the same turn. If he draws another Planeswalker, he can less the Planeswalker they have on battlefield and make some extra abilities. If they draw removal spells, they keep protecting the Planeswalkers and removing the blockers to keep the pressure going on. So definitely not a great spot for the Azores player here.
One thing I've learned about Amelia's Call plus Legion Angel is Amelia's Call does not give indestructible to Angel. It's just a little side note that can come up if you put both cards in your deck, which I do when I'm playing the Celestia deck. Don't forget that because it definitely happens where you have other angels in play, and you think that they have indestructible.
Yeah, we don't want to see more oopsies moments, so definitely
Yeah,
something to remember when playing with both cards. Also, Starnhand Unleashed plays puts tokens, angel tokens as well. Uh, we've not seen this card much on standard, but even uh, the 2/4 angel that gains life that's mostly used on historic company decks, also the angel, a card that I
yep.
like a lot.
Righteous Valkyrie, yep.
Yeah, this one. I was trying to remember its English name.
Yeah,
And that's just beautiful to see. Some four planeswalkers being activated on the same turn. Everything's being removed. Draw cards, get value, pressure your opponents even more. Now we're just seeing the formalities here, the casuals here. Uh,
Yep.
Very likely that Jacopo de Napoli will be our champion. I don't really see how Sergio's Azor's control is going out of this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It kind of makes me want to play Esper on like just fire up MTG Arena and start playing some Esper, even though like I just don't like playing Esper. Like I thought I wouldn't like playing Esper, but watching the games, it actually makes me want to play Esper more because they've been pretty sweet. Like there's been a lot of cards drawn, a lot of planeswalkers cast, and it feels like in all of these games and all of these matches that we've seen from the Esper side, the player having the most fun is definitely the person playing Esper.
Yeah, Sergio said, okay, enough. I'm not gonna let you have all this fun activating planeswalkers all over again. And we have Jacopo de Napoli as our champion for GGtour's 600 cash MTG Arena Duel of today, playing Esper Planeswalkers.